think in today's social networking, you're probably gonna get more attention here than you would in like a regular website page.
Justin, weren't you pretty much involved in the presentation?
Yeah, it's not that much work. The page is actually set up and we can allow people to join. I guess you would have to find a way to advertise it, probably through the website and maybe smoke signals. And people can request to become a member, and I think myself and Paul, and we're leaving room for one other person to be an administrator to compare applicants to the active roster on the POCI website to see if they are a true member, and then let them in. And then if people drop off, we can get a list every month and remove them if they're a member.
If they're not a member.
Right. Yeah, and there's no cost involved. All the hard work was done. It took maybe 15 minutes, and that's it. You know, it's just an added benefit.
The problem is with doing things Facebook is that it's kind of things moving down. So you always see the latest is on top, unless you freeze some
Wouldn't
ad, whatever.
wouldn't that be up to the person who put the ad in there if he wants to keep his ad?
No, it can't. If you put an ad in Facebook and it's up there, and if you put in after me, you are on top, and mine moves down all the way.
Okay.
If somebody makes a comment or something on my ad, that moves up. So it's kind of a little tricky. You can search on Facebook, but yes, but it's not the best way to sell stuff on Facebook. I was thinking about, can we do it as an advertiser? If you say you put in half of the ad and then you say go into our web page and see the rest, or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know how that would work. That seems like that might be tricky.
Yeah.
But there is a way to search on Facebook. If you're in a group, there's a little magnifying glass you click on, and you can type in if you're looking for Star Chief or GTO, and it will pull up all the posts that have those words in it. So you don't have to scroll through a month worth of advertisements. You can search for it, and it'll pop all of them up. And you're able to, put in a price, the description of the part, a picture, and then a lengthier description of what you're selling.
The most important there is to have people to put in, if you say you put in multiple pictures on an ad, say 5 pictures on an ad, and somebody goes in, you can go in on every picture and like that picture. Suddenly that moves out to be a piece of its own on that. So there has to be some rules that if you're going to sell multiple items, you have to put them on and take one picture, for example. That kind of, it's possible to do. So we can make it a shot to see what happens. That's what I say.
We're, if I understand it right, trying to generate more money from our ads and smoke signals. Is this going to be detrimental to that? Or going to lose money instead?
Not as far as I'm concerned. I'm gonna go to smoke signals, right? I have no idea what Facebook is.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about, that people just look at it on Facebook and they won't buy an ad and
I
smoke.
think this is gonna get my personal opinion is it's gonna get younger people
Yeah.
to look at things.
This is not gonna replace the paid advertising and smoke signals. It may replace the free classified
the ads are
ads.
free anyway.
That doesn't cost us anything if they can take it out.
I think what we're doing here is we're just offering just one more thing that we can do, one more service that we can offer to our membership, in which they can put stuff up, on the Facebook page real quick, and they do it themselves too. So
Yes.
I mean, it's only the initial setup that's going to be any kind of a time crunch. I did something similar for the overhead cams, setting up the forum. It only takes maybe 15 minutes to set it up, and then bam, you're up there. People request to join, you get on there, you let them join, and then they can go ahead and post their own ad. And yeah, if they want that ad to reoccur, they've got to repost it. If they want it to stay on top, but it's just one more thing, one more service we can offer to the membership, and try and keep things fresh and new for our club.
Okay. Any, trying to move things along so we get back on schedule, anything else?
What do you say?
Yeah, the motion. we've
Yeah,
got a
so I was
motion
gonna say, yep, sorry, Justin and Justin, I'm gonna give you a list of member numbers every month, and Justin has volunteered to help out with this process. And
Yep.
I think we try it, and it's, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to do it.
And you left up one more spot for another administrator.
Sure.
Lars, do you want to help?
Well, of course, I help.
Okay, yeah, so I'm totally in favor of it, I'll get these guys going and help support.
Yeah, we have to set up the rules, et cetera, so, yeah. We can go ahead and try it. If it won't work, we can shut it down.
And it's for members only, so
Yeah,
not anybody, not just anybody can come on and do it.
Is everybody familiar with the motion that we're voting on?
Kind of like a close friends thing, right?
Everybody, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? Looks like that. The third motion from Dawn is that the current policy of 2 months free membership as a reward for recruiting a new member be dropped and that the POCI Good Guys program be reinstated. This would result in significant financial savings to POCI. Please see the figures in the above report. Okay, that has nothing to do with the motion. The motion ends that, that the POCI Good Guys program be reinstated. So the motion is that the current policy of 2 months free membership as a reward for recruiting new members be dropped and that the POCI Good Guys program be reinstated. Do I have a second?
Can we do a little discussion?
I need a second and then. Need a second? Do we have a second?
I'll second, sure, yeah.
Okay.
So
Could I ask for some clarification?
Good. Okay.
My impression was if you refer a member, you get 1 month membership extension.
It's
Is it
been 2
two?
for a while.
Okay.
And it's popular, people like it. I don't think I have anything against the Good Guys program, but, I don't know, personally, I think there's a lot more people that refer 1, 2, 3, 4 people versus 5. And maybe it's an incentive for them to try to get 5, but in my experience at the club office, people really like this 2-month thing, so I don't know if it's such a really good idea, or maybe push the good guy up to, something else.
If you read the Good Guy, it's just a pin. You don't get any.
How many 3 months do you think you've given in a year?
That is a good question. I'm sure I can find that out, but just off the top of my head, I'd say I do probably 6 to 8 a month, so times 12, so,
$13, $14 a month,
yeah.
$144 a year.
So it's popular, but from Don's, yeah, from Don's standpoint, it's 2 more magazines to mail. I don't know if they really cost $3.25 each to publish and mail, maybe it's less than that.
I believe it's less than $3.
Then you just take the 39 divided by 12.
Right.
Anybody else? Jack?
I personally would want to see the present policy continue. Perhaps if we deem it too expensive, we can cut it down to 1 month free membership. But I don't see these badges as being much incentive to look for referrals.
Anybody else?
When we had that program, did it help?
But
When we had that program before, when you get 3 months for adding new members, was it very
Now,
many people?
the POCI Good Guys is if you signed up 5 members, it's a hat pin.
Yeah.
And if you signed up 10 members, there was another pin.
Gail, anybody else, long time, remember what a Good Guy award was? Was it free year membership? Was it? I mean, like
No,
Kurt Kelsey, I think
No,
he.
I just know what Kurt Kelsey's was way back when, but that was dropped a long time ago.
So he might even got a lifetime.
He did.
So, yeah, so as far as the private program, maybe to Jack's point, it was 1 month at one time, but
Yeah.
a few years back, we did it up to 2, and.
Did it seem to boost the referrals?
John?
What is our retention rate on a member? How
how many times do they renew, you know?
I'm sure we could get that, I don't have that.
Because
off the
if
top
you're
of my
bringing
head.
in a member and he's gonna sign up, but then he's gonna become a member for 5 years or 10 years, then it's a different picture.
I don't see, there's no way to, when somebody brings in a new member, there's no way to know whether they're gonna be a 5-year member or forever member or just.
No, but there's a way to know, how the program works, how many of those people stay around in the past, if we
I
track
think the
them.
answer is you could get at that, you'd probably
Because
do some.
at Old Cars, our retention rate in the Old Car business was always the highest in the company compared to any of the other publications.
How much was it?
We retained about 90% of our people. So if you didn't make money on bringing that person in the first time, it's still paid to bring that person in.
I know, just a little off the side, but the comparison, this promotion we did in December 2014 with those, we brought in like 1,100 new members, we retained 55% of them.
Okay.
So just as a comparison, which I don't know if that's really good or really bad or average, or I think it's decent, but.
I think it's decent too.
Well, when we went from a 1 month, 3 month for referral to 2, did you see an uptick in the referrals?
You know, as long as I can remember, it's been 2 months, so I don't think I've been in here like 7 or 8 years, so.
And I don't remember it ever being 1 month personally. so-
Yeah.
I might have misunderstood. I thought it was 1 month.
I always thought it was 1 month.
Well, if we vote to keep the current program, we need to publicize it better, obviously, because people don't know whether it's 1 or 2 months.
Any other discussion?
What's the cost on the pens?
It's got it
I thought
down
that
there.
was in
I think it's $3.50, is that what it said?
Right, like family.
Okay.
Pretty cheap.
He says 350
Yeah,
badge, yeah.
$3,050 a pen.
I don't know if Don is volunteering to keep track of this, to see.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
We keep track of all this.
Don is saying.
I remember that.
We're gonna maintain the program, so.
I don't know, I just don't see people getting 5 members and getting a pin as being the same as, you know, I think our incentive program now is good, but it does cost a lot of money.
All those, I'll restate the motion that the current policy of 2 months free membership as a reward for recruiting a new member be dropped, and that the POCI Good Guys program be reinstated. So if you vote yes, we would drop the present policy and change the POCI Good Guys. If you vote no, we would maintain the policy that we have in place. Everybody understand what you mean? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Okay. Okay, the fourth. It has been.
Yeah, we can do a quarter-page little blurb again.
It has been published in the past, not every month. The fourth motion is that a committee be appointed to reevaluate our current policy of placing paid advertising in automobile-related magazines. I think we already have the advertising committee in place. Does anybody?
Yeah, but that's not what it's saying reevaluate what we do have.
Well, that's what the advertising committee is supposed to do.
Okay. So then, this is not really a good motion.
Does anybody disagree with that? And I would say that this is a moot point for the advertising committee in place.
I would just refer it to that.
Yeah, we've got the stats, so I mean, in my monthly report that.
Yes, I've got.
Yeah, it's got how many members come in, so it's been a little while, but yes, to do a price or a, you know, comparison to say how much we're spending versus what.
I guess I put the motion out there. Do I have a second? Oh, geez.
Way to go, Wayne. Good job. Way to go, Wayne.
Okay, we have a second. Is there
I
any
call for an
discussion?
immediate vote.
Yeah, thank you. Move the question.
All right, tell me how to do that.
Just just say move the question.
Move the question.
Okay.
I'm not
All in
open-minded,
favor of
Robert.
moving the question, say aye. Aye or nay. So we can take, anybody opposed to moving the question? So now we can take an immediate vote. All in favor, let me state the motion again, that a committee be appointed to reevaluate our current policy of placing paid advertising in automobile-related magazines. All those, so if you voted in favor, we already have the advertising committee, so we could just say that's the committee. If you vote no, then we still have the advertising committee, so it doesn't really matter how you vote, I guess. All those in favor?
Can I put up both hands then?
Yeah. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Wayne and John and Vern were opposed?
Well, this is, you already have a committee, so this is actually going to.
That's why I say it doesn't matter how you vote.
Merle, point of order, I don't know how to phrase this according to Robert's rules, but really, this is an invalid motion because we already have a committee.
Right, but I got a second for the motion, so I got it now.
Strike it.
Why do you think I said Wayne? And that's why I wanted to move the question, then we can go to an immediate vote, and we don't have to go through discussion. So, just put down numbers.
That's funny.
It's too late. Okay. So the advertising committee is gonna take care of that. Let's see here. I had some things to just discuss quickly and hopefully throwing it out. POCI presence. There's a number of large shows where we, Kaken, Peggy does Daytona. And Greg, sorry. And Norwalk, we used to have a presence there. I know that Pete is more than happy to have us set up a POCI tent at Norwalk. I am an AACA member and I applied for Hershey Spaces this year. Been working with Arnie about that. So we'll have a POCI presence there. Spring Carlisle, I don't know, I go to Spring Carlisle, but there's no way to get spaces anymore, so I don't know what we could do there. But these are, I'm basically throwing this out for ideas to get members more involved, in particular directors more involved in how we can promote POCI. These are certainly ways to do it.
Spring Carlisle, are there any, I've never been to the show, are there any specific Pontiac vendors that anybody's tight with that would be able to like?
Ames is a specific.
Ames is there, usually George Richardson is there sometimes, Paul Decker.
Paul Decker.
Would they be
Paul
interested in
Decker has had a
possibly helping
space
us out
for years, Paul and Spring Carlisle.
with a sandwich board type or, any type of magazine?
I think if we provided Paul Decker with smoke signals and membership applications, that would probably.
Or George, I would think, with Richardson.
Or George, yes.
Yeah. But I know they still have spaces
Well,
at
Paul and
Carlisle.
George are really right next to each other, I think, in Spring. They
They
were
are.
this year.
And Tyrone, I can't think of his last name right now.
Tyrone Mount.
No, right, yeah. I don't speak Cherry.
So I guess I would refer this to the membership committee to, as another idea. The next item is target former members from the HPP list. And this, Paul left, so I just will wait for a second. And we've already discussed the PLCI membership in the chapters. We really need the membership committee to put together a program to get the names of chapter members who aren't PLCI members. And we promote, we as well, help the chapter promote PLCI. Right. But we need to put the program together here about the 90-day membership. I thought Dawn said something about that. I can't find it.
It's on the agenda.
I know, but I thought it was, because I thought he said something about doing away with that. But I don't, that was not a motion.
What does that mean?
If we have somebody come here who's not a member of POCI, the policy was to, I guess I should throw it back to Art and Larry, do we still have that policy in place? Yes. If they're not a member of POCI, but they wanna be here at the convention, they can sign up for a 90-day membership to be part of the convention. And I thought that Dawn had,
How many do we have?
I'd have to, yeah.
They come in and register right here.
Pardon?
$15,
$10.
and there's been several. I don't know the
Steve.
exact number, but there's been several $10.
Temporary.
Temporary 90-day memberships. It just gives them the right to come into the show and the registration.
Like that 60% e-membership though, they get, or they get a slow signal.
I thought, yeah, I thought it was an e-membership that they got.
I'm not sure what that membership is, but I believe it's through membership.
I don't know that, no, Paul's not here, so.
Paul would know that answer.
Okay, so we'll need to, I guess, hold off on those things until Paul comes back. So moving into, we're back to 1 o'clock, Original Owners Award.
I believe it was 2 years ago, it was brought before the board to institute an original owners award, similar to what GTO-AA has. And Doug Polskamp at the time volunteered to head up a committee to come up with a recommendation to the board on how we would do that. John Havens and myself were committee members. And we started work on it, but for whatever reason, it went into dormant status. So I talked to Merle about it last week and we decided to resurrect it. I left copies at everybody's place, how we recommend the program be run. And I'm gonna run through the rules real quick. The intent of the award obviously is to recognize cars that are basically one owner cars and their owner, and award them special recognition for that. And the rules we suggest are, of course, they must be the current POCI member. The vehicle must be at least 25 years old, as determined by the model year of the vehicle, not the manufactured date. If a car has been sold by the original owner and subsequently repurchased, they would not qualify. It has to be continuous ownership. They have to be registered for the convention, and the original owner must be present at the convention with the vehicle, unless they're physically unable to attend and they can, their son or somebody else brings the car. In order for us to come up with the award, they have to apply for 60 days prior to the convention with as much documentation as possible for us to verify that they did own the car from new.
Can I interject?
Sure, go ahead, please.
I would like that pushed to at least 90 days. Tom Oxler and I, he's the president of GTO-AA, and we got together when we first came up with this, and I know how hard he works on it for GTO-AA. Him and Doug do it for GTO-AA, and I think 60 days would put a lot of work in a short time, so.
You might wanna even make it more than that.
Well, I mean, hopefully they'll apply 6 or 8 months ahead of time. I mean, the sooner the better.
So you would be okay with the cutoff being 90 days?
Yeah, I
Whatever
think,
the board decides. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean-
but based on their experience, we'll probably at least change this to 90 days.
yeah, at least 90 days. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then point number 7, the way we envision this working is, having a separate area at the convention to display one-owner vehicles, if at all possible. And then the final caveat is, basically, if somebody applies and the committee who's in charge of verifying it says, sorry, we're not certain that's a one-owner vehicle, they don't have a right to appeal to anybody. It's just pretty much.
Can they reapply with more information?
We didn't talk about that. That's up to the board to decide.
Yeah.
And then there's, down at the bottom, we had discussed the possibility of recognizing cars that are essentially one-family cars. My grandfather bought a 1948 Pontiac, and my father inherited it, and now it's mine. It's never left the family. We thought that might be worthy of recognition, but it might be a little more difficult to administer, and we don't know if the group, it's up to the board to decide whether they want to go that far or not.
That would be a lot more work.
It would be more work. You have black and white copies there. We came up with 2 versions of the award. One is modeled after what the GTO AA does, and it's basically designed to represent a window sticker with a photograph attached to it, with the data, pertinent data on the car. There's a second, more simplified version that has the essential information: VIN number, assembly plant, sticker price, production date, picture of the car, name of the owner. Again, up to the board which one you decide on. I will just say this: I think if this is designed to be a wall plaque, this is a little hard to read from more than 3 feet away. This is a little easier to read, but we thought we'd leave it up to the board to decide. Questions, comments?
What type of investigation do you guys do or whatever for verification that takes it 60 to 90 days out?
Have you been involved in any of that with GTOA?
I talked to Tom about, see, theirs is easy because all the GTOs are PHS documented.
Right.
And they're tied in with them, and bam, Tom just calls him, he sends him the stuff, and it's a done deal. But as you get further back, pre-1970, there are no computer records. So PHS has to go back and really go through the records to see who the thing was delivered to and that, and who bought it.
And from 60 on up for full-size cars, it starts 59 down, there's no information.
Well, I was told 61, so I don't know, it's in
Actually,
that
60,
area.
okay.
Yeah, that's gonna make it really tough, because then it's gonna be all up to the owner to prove that they are the original owner by documentation.
Protective plate or something like that.
Well, in your older cars, it'd be a bill of sale.
Bill of sale.
Original title, I have my original title. From day one, I have my original bill of sale. I've still got the envelope that the dealer sent me with the protective plate and all the other information, and it's still in that envelope, so.
Give us 90 days, we'll get back to you.
That's why we left ourselves the out. If we decide, whoever's making this judgment decides there's just not enough proof here, we're sorry, the burden of proof's on the owner of the car. And most of these cars that they've owned for however long, if they kept it that long, most of them kept original paperwork, protect the plate, whatever. Most of them, if it's available, will have the PHS documentation.
Of course.
Most of them, I got my 71 Sport, I ordered a new one 70, okay?
Okay.
I'm 66 years old, so to go back to 59 and 60 to find the original owners showing up here, I don't think you're gonna have that much problem. It's complicated, just because there's not that many, we're all aging fast enough as it is.
It looked like with, original title, original bill of sale, and a notarized affidavit, that you should have pretty much enough.
Yeah, we would think.
Weird question, and you may know the answer because I don't. When I used to PHS cars, they're not really nothing but big cars, but when I put PHS car, I'd always get the window sticker because it would tell me where the car was delivered to, what dealer it went to. I heard that a year ago, this last September, the guy that did the B-body window stickers had a stroke, and he's never returned and they can only give A body and F body car window
I've
stickers.
not heard that. I don't know if
Does
it's true or
anybody
not.
know? I don't know, because I haven't even applied for anything lately, but they told me he was out, and that was a year ago, September, and he was really screwed up pretty bad. Nobody knew how to do a B-body sticker. So they could do a build sheet, but they couldn't do a sticker. A lot of times on the build sheet, it won't tell you where the car's delivered to, only the window sticker will tell you what dealer it went to.
Is Jim Madison here this week?
He's supposed to be here.
Oh, he is? I thought he wasn't.
He is?
I invited him, he said he was gonna be here.
Okay. But
We could ask
the
him that
original
question.
PHS documents generally only give the dealer code. And unless you have a complete listing of dealer codes and the dealer names that go with them, which Jim has a lot of that, because I've sent away stuff and I get back the actual dealer, as well as the dealer code, I get the name of the dealer that the car was originally delivered to. But the older the car is, the harder, you know, dealer codes, like anytime a dealer is sold the dealership, the dealer code may change. So dealer codes are in flux as well, but the bottom line is the committee is just gonna have to go with whatever they think.
Worst case scenario, we're gonna greatly increase the workload for the grievance committee.
There you go.
John, I think the name you were looking for was Chris Patrico. Was it Chris Patrico? That was the guy who did all the B bodies in the last 35 years I've been a member. Chris Patrico was doing the B body window stickers. That's the name you're thinking of? It popped into my head, but anyway.
Any other questions?
How many of these cars do we get out of convention?
Yeah. Pardon me?
How many of these cars do we get out of?
We have no idea at this time.
2, 3, 4, 10?
Well, this year, I'm in GTOA, so I went to the meeting last week, and Tom was there right before he left for Seattle. They've got 10 new ones in Seattle this year. They've probably got, I think, a total, since they started doing this, of around 70 cars. But you figure they're not all gonna come to the same convention at the same time.
Right.
And they do give those people a special place to park. And it's inside if they can do it.
Lars?
Well, somebody has a car like that known from the beginning and managed to come here. I think they deserve both the wall plaque and both the window sticker to put in the car. I don't think we should vote for one or the other one.
Well, that's not a window sticker, it's just designed to represent a window. You guys have that idea?
Plus, the plaque will also have, a picture of the original owner, hopefully, when he bought the car, and one today, is the way it's written up on there, so. GTOAA just has a current picture.
Well, the way,
in his car.
the way I envisioned it, and I hope I wrote it plainly enough, was, oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I didn't intend for both pictures to be on the plaque, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be really, really too complicated. The intent of having the car and owner from the early history is available is just further proof that they owned the car.
Oh,
back in
okay,
the day.
okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine that plaque having 2 photographs on it.
Any further?
How does this help the club?
Wow, that's, I thought it was so obvious that I never thought to put it into words, but how does it help the club to give out
I think
trophies?
it helps the club recognize those people that are devoted to the Pontiac brand, and to be able to, the whole idea to show people, look at this car, I bought it new. Well, Wayne could tell us, no, you have an original car.
It makes people feel
What makes you proud? Doesn't it make you proud to be able to show your car? I'm the original owner, and I've kept it looking like this for 100 years. No, I don't want to hear your car.
These people are gonna do that, these people are gonna do that anyway.
But now.
You know, I'm saying like, the club's gonna be spending for these things, and how does it help the club? It doesn't bring in new members, because these people are already
It could
members.
very well bring in new members, because now you've got a guy who's got a plaque, he can show off when he goes to other shows. I belong to POCI, I've owned this car forever, they recognize people that keep cars forever. And particularly if you go to a show and you find somebody who owns a Pontiac, I can't think of a better way to recruit somebody to belong to the club than, you've owned this car forever, you need to belong to POCI, you're gonna get this plaque.
I just asking a question.
I have a sign that I display with my car. It was out this morning when I was cleaning it. And people walk up and read that sign and find out I'm the original owner. That starts a whole new conversation. Which I was smart enough
I
to
think
keep
it's
my
not
car.
always about recruiting, it's about retention too, and this kind of falls back as a part of retention. I mean, the whole purpose of the convention is to recognize your members, their accomplishments, their cars. And any way you can recognize them in any way we can possibly is gonna help retain them in the organization down the line.
And also get them to come to the convention.
Look at it this way too. If I win that award, I will no longer enter any class. I will go with the original owners. Now somebody else, I've been fortunate enough, I'm 11 for 11 at the conventions. If I move out, somebody else is gonna win the award that I possibly could win. So that's gonna make them a lot happier too and wanna come back.
And he's still paying his convention registration and not getting the trophy.
Yep, sure am.
So he's saving us money.
We are saving money.
I can't be that much of an
Who's gonna
investment.
manage it? You two? You gonna manage it?
I can't hear you.
Who's gonna?
I'm sure you'll work.
Who's gonna manage it?
I think you're deaf when you want to be. You're like.
Yes.
Are you a selective hearer?
Selective hearer.
Yes, well, we'll manage it if nobody else
Burn.
volunteers.
Are you anticipating a small entry fee to get into this classification, like they do the points judge?
Small entry fee. Well, I mean, they're gonna pay, oh, I see what you're saying, like a points, what could
have
pay a
an
points
application
judging fee?
To do the paperwork.
To do the paperwork?
Oh, to do the paperwork for the verification that the.
John,
And the award.
Does does GTOAA charge anything for?
I don't think they do. Yeah, I don't think they do, because I did one for a friend of mine, Lynn Luter, who's got, he bought a GTO brand new, and I did his paperwork for him a few years ago.
Tom never said
And it was
anything
not-
about it.
I don't think.
You know, I never even considered that, but I mean, that's like a who's who in America. Pay us $50 and we'll put you in who's who. I mean, this is,
Yeah,
Jim just said it, this is about recognition. You don't charge somebody for recognition.
yeah, I don't think we need to charge anybody for this.
I don't know if you consider that or not.
Any other discussion or? So we need to first vote to do this
And then you have to vote
on the award.
whether you accept the rules with that one amendment to 90 days. Does anybody else suggest a change to any of these rules?
So I was just gonna ask, you're gonna make an award, is the money coming out of POCI or coming out of convention fund?
That's up to the board, I don't.
Is it, because it's gonna, I think, you
I
initially
think it
started,
should-
it's gonna be a big influx of people
I
doing it.
think it
Then it's
should
gonna
come out of POCI. I think we should do it that, because it's a recognition by the
By POCI.
organization, not by the convention.
Want to clarify.
So we need to word a motion here to.
Oh, you want, okay. The motion would be that POCI institute an original owners award program, and we adopt the rules as written with the modification that, to number 6, increase 60 days to 90 or 120, what do you think?
Put 120.
Double 60 days to 120 days.
And that the award will be paid.
And that the award will be paid for out of POCI funds.
No, no, it's
One time.
one-time award.
One time.
But we could have, I think the point over, I forgot whether it was Art or Larry, the point is, in the very beginning, we might have 10 or 15 people.
You may get several the first time, and then after that,
It's
we're
gonna
all gonna hear
drop.
about it, want to get in.
Depends if I go to conventions too.
Here you go.
You know?
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, so-
Because you gotta bring the car.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but I mean, if it's on the west coast and you're on the east coast, you're probably not gonna go to that one.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
So,
So it probably would be 10 or less per year, I would think.
Yeah.
The first year might be a little heavier than
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, it would average out. Okay, we have the motion.
I have a question. Could they still be allowed though to show, say same car, they've restored it, they
Yeah.
want to show it?
Yeah.
They should be still allowed to show it. in
Points judged and all.
It would,
Yeah, I can see why not.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be in popular vote anymore because it would have its own separate section. That's
If the
what-
person wants to go popular vote, they can, or points judge, they can.
Okay.
But if they want to display only with the
With the
Okay.
original.
original owners,
Okay.
they have that option,
I see.
which is what I will do. I will totally pull out all the show stuff.
I see.
So they still have the option to show the car.
Right.
But original own, if they choose to be in the special original owners display, say they've already got their award
Mhm.
2 years ago.
Mhm.
And they show up to another convention, and they wanna go with original owners, then they give up, except for points judging, I suppose they could still points judge.
They would
but they
still
would
have
give up.
the original owner, they could even put that in there.
But I mean,
Still
they would be in
points
the
judged.
original owners award
Right.
display, therefore they wouldn't be able to be in the popular vote. Does that make sense?
It'll be their option, yeah.
Well,
Well, that's what I.
They would either have to go to popular vote or original owners.
Yeah.
So if they've already got their original owners and then they wanna go back to popular vote, they
Then
can.
they can go do it again, yeah.
Okay.
They could also do points judging, but that's.
Points judging, that I could do anyway.
But you're thinking it's a higher standard.
Right.
If we set up.
Higher
the
honor to
same-
be sitting in your,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
too.
I'm very proud to be an original owner. I worked hard to keep my car the way it is. I did not give up my car to anybody. And I will not give my car to anybody except my son. He will get my car.
I started saying, he was talking about a retention, Jim really hit it, the same topic we all talked about the other night, how when somebody dies, what happens to the car, because there's more than one kid, kids generally sell it to get the money. Hopefully, with this kind of honor, there's somebody in the family that you keep wanting to keep bringing it back.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. I think Ron, any other discussion?
I think the 120 days is a little long. It's just my opinion.
But it doesn't have to be 100, you give it up to 120 days to do it.
Oh, no, they can apply 6, 8 months ahead of time. The longer, the sooner they put it in, the better. Because that gives us more time to research everything and get it all done. So when we go to order the awards, we know how many we need to order.
well, not only that, these awards are gonna have their name in, and they're got custom awards. They're not like the Indian Maiden where you make up 100 at a time or whatever.
And if a guy comes, let's say 2 months out, 60 days out, and he finds out the convention's closed and he can do that, you're gonna turn him away because it says 100.
No, we're gonna say, we're gonna consider you for 2017.
Yeah, but it won't be close to where they're at, is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
Find out the
Sorry
back
about
door, they
your
just found out about it, then.
More work for the grievance committee.
It'd be no difference in points judge. If you don't make it into the time frame for points judge, you don't get in.
I know, but.
That's the lead time.
Well, I think what he's asking for is, will there be any gray area?
Yeah, because the
If
guy's.
there's one
been
guy that
sitting-
calls up.
Because he may never apply again, he's never.
Well, that's why I said there's no right of appeal.
No what?
No right of appeal.
Why not just include, you said, for them to fill out, say, suggested 120
For 120 days
prior
out.
to convention, and try and make it work if you can, and if you can't, well, you have the 120 days.
You hate to turn a guy away and he'll never apply.
Right, exactly.
I think 90 is a good.
Well, they may have a guy walk up and have everything right there for you to prove it.
But he wouldn't have the award because you
Right.
have time.
Yeah, but you can't have the award ready.
Yeah, we have to know ahead of time how many awards to have made. And you gotta have all the information to go on the award. So that's why, you know, I was like, well, if you wanna go 90, that's fine, I don't care.
Okay, we've got it at 120. So we wanna change it? I hear that, but I need someone wanting to, we have a motion, we have a second.
Can we manage 90 days?
We can have an amendment.
Okay.
I can make a motion to amend it to 90 days.
Do I have a second? Okay, let's just vote on it, I don't think we need a discussion. favor, let's see, the motion is to go to 90 days. So if you're in favor, we'll go to 90 days. If you're opposed, we stay at 120. Everybody understand the motion?
That's before we vote whether
Yeah,
to
this is an
institute the
amendment,
program.
this is the amendment to the
Okay.
original motion. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, so we have now amended it back to 90 days. Or not back to 90, we changed it from
60 to 90.
60. So the motion is the same motion, but now we're at 90 days. And we have a second. All in favor? Anybody opposed?
Oh, man.
Now we need to go to the awards.
Okay. So you don't have the color versions, but this is basically copied from GTOAA, okay? And this is a little cleaner version. More information, reminiscent of a window sticker, cleaner.
I was just gonna make a motion that we accept the top one.
Yeah, the larger one like you
Okay,
spoke
we have
of.
a motion to accept the top award, which is the
Cleaner version.
the cleaner version. It has a little less information, it has the pertinent information, a little less than the GTOAA. And do I have a second for that motion? Second from Jim. Now discussion on that,
I think that looks like a show flyer.
okay?
Have you done any, investigation on how much that's gonna cost to do a plaque?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, that's about $100,
Okay.
more or less, probably more, so.
But it doesn't matter. The other one would be the same.
And even more, with
Okay.
all that small print.
Well,
Jack's picking up the tab.
You can get one a lot cheaper. I just did an award, I don't have it with me, but I did an award for the overhead cameras. And I did it on PowerPoint, it's in color, I took it and had it printed, $3.50 for the certificate. And then you can either put it on a frame, or you can maybe spend $20 and you can put it under a lucite glass.
Is that
mounted
not
to
how
a flame.
GTOAA does theirs?
Laminated.
So it's not gonna be $100, I can tell you that.
I think she,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have it maybe embossed into a, you know,
well, that's what Wayne was
I mean,
talking
if that's the way you wanna go, but I mean, you wouldn't have to.
But I
do
think
it.
GTOAA prints out or somehow does something and then it's covered in lucite.
Doug doesn't, Doug has them done.
But it's not engraved on a plate.
No. No, because it has a picture of the car and the owner on it too. Tom told me their awards, which stands about that high and about that wide, cost about $100 a piece.
Be aware that if you do some printing like that for a lower cost, the color don't stand sun, and it don't even stand sitting on a wall where the sun comes in and go around. It fades, take just a year or 1.5, all color is gone. So go cheap is not.
Well, it sounds like we're not going any cheaper.
Jack, is there a reason why the other one is smaller than that one?
There's more information.
As far as the physical size of the paper.
Probably because I like this one better, and I so I think the bigger one.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun, I did, believe it or not, I did this in Word. I mean, I don't have any fancy, I don't
It
have.
looks like it.
Right. So,
Jim,
I do like the one on the left hand, because the other one, the one that looks like GTOAA, we don't wanna be copying GTOAA.
thank you, that's what I
Guys?
was.
You already have more or less.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but I still think we should have, the POCIs be a little bit more unique,
Yeah.
you know, not necessarily better, not worse, just
my personal reaction when I first saw this, call call me pig-headed, but I didn't get it. I didn't get the concept. And then when somebody said, oh, it's a window sticker, oh, now I get it. But when I first looked at it, I just thought, why all those lines? It didn't make sense, so. Because, and if you're looking at it from a distance, I mean, you can't even read this one. I think this is a little more legible from a distance, but I'm prejudiced, or I'm biased.
John and Wayne have original cars, you guys do not.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, so. You know, there's a lot of hard work there, and I appreciate it. To me, I don't really care.
Really?
Yeah.
Now see me, I'm so jealous of guys who own their cars since new. When I walk up to a show, a car at a show, and the guy says, I bought this car new, I'm like, I'm blown away. I think I've walked up to four-door sedans, and when I found out it was the original owner, I was like, wow. You know,
Gail?
it's impressive.
How much do we pay for the other trophies? This year since I bought any, so I have no idea.
$15, $30 piece.
They're like 25, 35, and 50.
And the Indian maiden.
Oh, the Indian maidens are not that much, because they're made overseas.
Oh, okay.
But they supplement them by the points per se.
Yeah, they pay. But we're not gonna be giving out.
The numbers on these should be, I mean, minuscule compared to even just the Indian maidens were Indian eyes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Jack's favorite, in his right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
These was a show fly, right?
1, 2,
I like it.
3,
My opinion.
4. We have 4.
They're both cool, either one. It's still a recognition item, but still.
Is this a committee item?
That's what it's gonna have to be. That was my next.
This isn't going into the committee and the committee decides.
I can't hear.
What it should be.
Should we form a committee, original owners committee?
To do what? To administer the program, or?
Yes, to do the research, and you two guys would be.
Well, we already volunteered. I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
But we need
The
to
more
make
the
that-
merrier.
We need to make that a committee.
Why don't you just have the agreements committee to begin with?
Hey, that one days away.
If we set up a separate original owners agreement. I mean, I'm sure we could use more help if, any volunteers?
I'll jump in, I'm not doing anything yet.
Okay. That makes 3 of us.
We have an original owners committee that they will administer the program, they'll determine who gets the awards.
And the grievance committee is not involved.
Grievance committee will throw it back into the original owners.
Becomes referral.
We'll revert it back.
Is that it?
That's it.
I'd like to thank the board for their wisdom. I think this is going to prove to be a big feature of the convention.
I share your sentiments too about original owners, I feel the same way.
I think it's
I do.
super special.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Next item is secretary. We've already discussed this earlier, but the Constitution says that we need to elect a secretary every year, and that secretary must be a director. Therefore, because no one stepped up to be secretary, we couldn't elect a secretary, and I appointed Peggy to be the assistant secretary, so her function is assistant secretary, but she's actually the secretary.
Incognito, she's the secretary.
Why change was not broken?
Right. Good that thing.
But we need, if we're gonna do this, we've gotta either decide to change the Constitution and allow the secretary to be a non-director,
A little
or
amendment.
or we've gotta decide right now that it's time for somebody to step up to be secretary. Personally, I don't wanna hand this over to Wayne, put it that way.
I make a motion that we amend the Constitution to open it up to any outstanding member of POCI that can do the job, to be able to be awarded the position.
Do I have a second? Is there any discussion?
It used to be that way years ago.
Wayne?
The only discussion I would have is, like in the case of Peggy, no one wants to step up, the president would have the option to,
Make a
appoint
decision.
a secretary.
Well, that's
Some qualified, that's
already in the Constitution.
okay, that's.
So you wouldn't lose that.
Okay.
All we would do with this amendment to the Constitution is that we would change it from being a director to anybody, any
Right.
member could be secretary.
Which means he can still appoint whomever he wanted, and so choose to.
Well, it would, if we couldn't get someone to be secretary, it would still be, the president could still appoint an assistant secretary until we do whatever we have to do to change it again, if we have to change it again.
Does it pay the same?
Well, then maybe that's what we'd have to do. So we have a motion to amend the Constitution, we have a second. Lawrence?
Is that only for a secretary role, or is it for?
The treasurer, unless you guys wanna get into having a president and vice president, no. Right now, the treasurer does not have to be a director.
And I just said we vote for the secretary.
We would change the Constitution to allow the secretary to be able.
Well, I just have some discussion, as I said before. I know that Peggy does a great job. I have absolutely nothing against Peggy being a secretary. But I think it's really truly sad, looking at these many faces around the board, and nobody is willing to put their hand up to do it. I have done it. It's not that difficult a job. You could even have a little reporter going. Oh, Peggy, help me out.
I think some people know their limitations, though. I mean, I would love to be able to take the position, but I can't do it justice. I know my limitations, and I think that a lot of people that, it's not that they don't wanna do the jobs, it's just sometimes people are not cut out for secretarial positions, or I would never think of being a treasurer, because I'm terrible with numbers. Okay, so.
He spends more money than he makes.
What? So I think I think I take a little offense to what you're saying, because you know what? You're making me feel like, well, why would I want to take a position? Because I know my limitations. I would never be a good secretary, never in a million years. So it's not a matter of, I don't think a lot of us feel that we don't want to volunteer or take that extra time or don't have the time. Like I said, I don't think some of us don't know our limitations.
You may want to consider the other officers as well, because, let me just finish.
Okay.
In case of Larry's coming up, the election, his term expires 2017, okay? God forbid if someone, if we find another candidate running his division, and he loses that election, what happens to that position? He's gonna be vice president, but then he's then not a board member. I'm just saying.
If he loses, then he's no longer vice president, we find another vice president.
Well, this is, you know.
The option to that would be he would continue as vice president, but he's no longer a director, so he doesn't have any voting privileges.
True. He's not a good
Larry's-
lawyer.
Do it to me, do it to me.
You're saying we're vice president already. Officers must be board members, okay? Well, in Larry's case, he's not a board member.
Right, so that he could no longer be vice president. He would have to elect him as vice president.
I basically wrote those rules that you're talking about, Vern, and the reason I did that was the general membership had no say-so over who the officers of the club could be. they elect directors, meaning then that the directors, the officers would come from a director. I assume that there had to be presidents of the organization that weren't directors.
No. No.
There was always a
Never?
president, there, Bass wasn't.
Right.
Didn't have to be there.
Okay.
Right, at one point, non-board members could be some of the other positions on the executive committee.
One time I was a secretary and not.
That's right. At some point, I was a vice president and not a board member as well.
The president was always the one that had to be in the past.
Right.
Just a very-
Executive position.
Somewhere this changed that. Also, constitutional changes used to be, had to be voted on by the majority of the, membership.
They still do.
Okay.
That's why it's like change, it's gonna take a while before it actually happens. Because we will make the recommendation to the membership, it'll be on the ballot this coming year. Then the membership votes on it. If they approve it, then we're already past the point. It would be the next year before it would actually be enforced.
Somewhere I've got an old constitution and bylaws, when I get back home and dig it out and see how that wording is. It may contain wording from the old convention. Not if it's doing
But right now, we have a motion to make the secretary a non-director, and we have a second. And unless someone wants to propose an amendment to change that, I'm ready for a vote, unless somebody else wants to discuss. So, all in favor of, the motion is that we will change the wording in the Constitution that director, or that the secretary no longer needs to be a director. Be the same as a treasurer.
Sounds good.
Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Peggy, raise your hand.
A couple of years ago.
I think it's an old opposed, you can raise it.
The lifetime, the lifetime secretary.
Now we get into the fun part. Well, let's do the other, I'm gonna change this a little bit and get a couple of, hopefully, quick things done before we get into the contentions.
I do have a quick question.
Okay?
Are we gonna have to vote every year whether to give the secretary travel or mileage, or is that?
I would say yes. What we did,
Could we?
Simone is treasurer, not a director, so
Right.
we have two positions that we can appoint, and Simone is an appointed director.
Right.
And Art is an appointed director, as a convention.
Right.
director.
Are they constitutionally entitled to that mileage, or?
Because they're directors, yes.
Yes.
If Simone was not a director, then we would have to do what we just did with Peggy.
So I'm saying it'd be fair to whoever's in that position to be at the mercy of the board every year, whether they get mileage allowance. Can we not take a vote on making that part of the Constitution?
You can make the motion to that effect.
I move that we also.
Let me think, we might be able to put this in the bylaws, so that we could make it.
Will she have voting rights?
No, if you pay, I think all that Jack is talking about is just.
Mileage.
Well, I'm appointed director. The biggest reason why, because I signed these contracts and everything, so they decided to do that. And I didn't vote the first year, because I didn't think I could vote, and they come and said, the directors come and said, no, you can vote, you're director. So I got voting rights, and I didn't get elected.
Right.
You just said she couldn't, though, you said no.
No, she would, unless we appoint her as a director, she would not get paid the mileage.
Okay, just appoint the secretary.
Unless we do what Jack's saying.
Okay, never mind.
what we did this year.
Can you do that in the bylaws?
Yes, we can. Yep. That would be changing the Constitution. We have travel reimbursement in the bylaws where we decide on how much it is. And travel expense may be an expendable budget item. So we could amend the bylaws in the travel reimbursement section to, in fact, somewhere.
Yeah, line 3.
Right. I thought at one time we also had a line item that if we requested someone to be here for a particular purpose, we could pay them mileage.
But that would be on a case-by-case basis every year.
Right, yes.
Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
We could add a line 3, as Jim suggests, that, how would we want to word it?
Well, I would just word it to say, travel expense, for secretaries that are not sitting board of directors at the time will be allowed a travel expense during the tenure of their.
How about if we say officers
Okay.
or not?